fine with me. We can do that then. Okay, if there's nothing else to be brought before the borough, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay. You know, we're rolling. I am making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, laws of the state of New Jersey. Borough Clerk has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the governing body of Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2022. The Borough Clerk has posted a true copy of the schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall, and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source, the Star Ledger, and the Home News Tribune, and is maintaining a copy of this schedule in her office during the year 2022. During the public health emergency caused by coronavirus, the Borough Council will continue to meet on their regularly scheduled meeting dates at 6 p.m. The Borough Council meeting will continue to commence as soon as possible after the work session. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with regard to this meeting. Please stand for the salute to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Cesari? Here. Councilman David?
Here.
Councilman Finestrella?
Here.
Councilman Pence?
Here.
Councilman Puglisi?
Here.
Councilman Zimmerman?
Here.
All are present.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the work sessions and council meetings of February 9th and 23rd, 2022, March 2nd, 2022, and the special meeting of February 3rd, 2022?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Various advisories were received from the New Jersey State League of Municipalities, the resignation of the Borough Administrator and Clerk, Fire Chief Kruger's LoSAP certification, Little League parking renewal request, a request for continued support from the Historical Society, and the department reports for February were received.
Is there a motion to accept communications and reports?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Finestrella, seconded by Councilman Pence. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I know I say this, I've said it before, and I want to say this again because I can't say it enough, that, so many of us have called 911 in an emergency. So someone always answers, and someone's always there, responding without hesitation. Most of us, although we're grateful, we don't spend a lot of time thinking about those people behind the scenes, the sacrifices they make every day in their personal lives to volunteer and serve our borough. I'd like to award a certificate of excellence to several of our members who recently had a CPR save. And I hope that all of you never lose sight to know that there's a human being alive because of what you did. And I have a certificate of excellence presenting in recognition of your life-serving actions for a fellow community member during an emergency situation. The first certificate of excellence is for Captain Danny Morrow. The second certificate of excellence is for Charlie Fouet. The third certificate of excellence is for Alan Davies. Fourth certificate of excellence is for Lieutenant Randy Levchuk. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And the next certificate of excellence is for Casey Shepard. Paul Richardson. Let's all remember that our rescue squad and our firefighters are volunteer. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move to the reported committees, the finance report. Councilman Puglisi.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee had their first budget meeting, and it was with Chief Freddie Seuss. That took place late last week. I'd like to commend the Chief Seuss. He did an excellent job in coming in with a budget that was pretty much in line with last year's, aside from mandatory raises. Even the capital requests were reasonable and in line with what we've been doing in the past, at least with the police department. So moving forward, it looks like we're going to be in good shape as to that department as it relates to the budget. We are working on scheduling another finance committee for next Wednesday with the DPW head, and hopefully, we can start. At least, I know he's got a boatload of capital requests for sure. But we're going to start. Yeah. Hey, listen. Safety is one thing, especially the employees. But as our CFO stated earlier, there is this bill passing through, which is going to basically, I assume it's going to pass, because whenever something goes to Trenton, you never know what's going to happen, right? So if it goes through, we're going to have extra money, right? So we, the town, just about every municipality. So it's going to be nice to know how much extra money we have once we finalize the budget, so we don't get too tight with our budget. It's with the Merck thing in our year, it's kind of scary. But at least we'll know. Last year we used surplus to get to where we needed to be, and hopefully this year we won't do that. And at least that's the goal, as it is every year. Also, let's see, you'll see on the resolutions, and the CFO was kind enough to explain it to be the appropriations reserves transfer, and that means essentially there was money left from last year's budget, and he's transferring it to this year's budget. And what he informed me is that the three top avenues that will receive this extra money from last year, money set aside for the what's going to happen is money set aside for the Merck tax appeal, so we have a defense, right? For the leave time that has to be paid to employees once they leave, and as well as to have enough seed money for the capital improvements moving forward. Most of it goes to bond, but we still have to put in our 5%. So that's, and I know last year's budget had a good amount of capital requests and fairly good, fairly good capital. So I got to say, it was well thought out, and it was Jerry, myself, Linda had a hand in it, and who else? I think Joe, you were on the finance committee too, and the council voted for it unanimously. And that's all I have for finance.
Okay, thank you. Department of Public Works, Councilman David.
Thank you, Mayor. DPW will be open on April 2nd, the first Saturday of April, to accept recycling drop-offs. During the week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 2:30 p.m., the DPW is open for the public to drop off recycling, e-waste, and scrap metal. Superintendent would like to congratulate Mr. Richard Loxley, the DPW Employee of the Month for February 2022. Mr. Loxley, our Sanitation Department driver and most senior member of the DPW with 34 years of service, continues to take the initiative by checking in to aid prior to leaving each day. Spring cleanup has begun on all borough properties. thing I got is DPW pretty much has exhausted their temporary budget. So we do have a meeting with them next Wednesday, Finance Committee. And tonight, I kind of would like to make a motion to advertise for 2 new employees, 1 CDL driver and 1 laborer, to satisfy the table of organization. DPW's been working shorthanded for quite a while now, since last year. I've brought this up a few times in the past, and want to see what we can do about it.
Are we advertising for the positions?
Well, we would need to advertise, so.
I think we had a, I don't have a problem with advertising, but I think at the time, the DPW head, Michael, said he'd rather give out raises than new hires. I guess that's changed, Mike, or?
We have to satisfy the TO.
Okay.
And we did eliminate one position off the TO, so that has satisfied whatever increases are necessary.
Well, I mean, we do have a TO for the police department that's always filled.
No, I
And
agree.
it was just
Can I
filled.
just ask if we're down 2 people at, the DPW, why can't we just hire people to fill the spot?
Absolutely, I agree with you, but you have to understand that Mr. Calixto said he'd rather have the raises than the hires the last time the DPW committee met. So since
You
then,
mean raises for the guys to do more?
to make more.
Make more, but
Yeah.
what do you do with the 2 positions that are open? You need
Well,
to fill those
if he
positions.
now wants raises, I have no, listen, I didn't have an objection before. No, I'm just saying that's why it took so long.
Okay, let's fill the TO. Let's advertise. Are we in
Can I say
agreement?
to that? Real quick, since I'm on the committee too, he eliminated, I know he definitely eliminated a spot from the TO. But I met with Michael at the DPW a few times to speak with him, and he still wants to hire 2, so he eliminated 1 to cover those raises, 1 position in the TO. The other 2 positions are still open. And the reason that the raises came into play was he was trying to bring them up to what they would get as a driver or that position with another DPW, so we don't lose people from our DPW
Yeah.
since we're already short. And we're challenged with a CDL type C for our brine truck and other issues there, so he definitely wants to hire 2 more, so.
Excellent. So we can go ahead and advertise? Can we give- Okay. Can we put
If
that?
I may, Mayor, you can
Yeah.
advertise for the position. You're looking at least a month lead time on that anyway. At that point, you may have a better handle on what the budget looks like, and then you can act accordingly from there.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's one of the reasons we have the salary ordinance on.
Change for tonight,
Right,
correct. And just, if I can, real quick, I know when I met with Mike, the DPW, the sweeper was down. He was able to get the parts. I know he went out and searched for them to get the parts. So if anybody's street has not been swept recently, it was down. Mike, is it back up now? Were you able to get all the parts or
By
no?
next week, it'll be back up, yeah.
By next week?
Yeah, it's just a supply chain issue with the parts. They just don't come in as quick as we'd like them to anymore.
Right. And just to give Mike kudos, he is actually doing some carpentry at the DPW currently to fix it up himself instead of hiring somebody there. So he's doing a good job at the DPW. And just another point, I've been in contact with him about our bulk waste. A lot of people have contacted me about bulk waste. I know it's a hot topic right now in town. We normally do it in April, and we do it after the townwide community garage sale in October. And unfortunately, Mike had told me that nobody was answering his calls in Rahway. I made a call to their borough administrator. I spoke with her, and they, due to manpower issues they currently have, they are not interested in doing it this year.
Okay.
So as a result, I reached out to Ken Blum. I spoke with Ken earlier this week, and I know Roselle Park hires a private outfit, and I know the superintendent came to me with another company that hasn't reached back out to us. I know our CPA works in Roselle Park, and Ken, I don't know if you can expand on that, if you had any luck with
I spoke
that.
to Andrew Casais, the qualified purchasing agent, so he's preparing the bid specs for county work.
Good.
Well, we do it in Roselle Park, and we do it for 1 day or 2 days, so the alternate will be in there for either way. And I'm not sure if he contacted you yet, Michael, but, because I know you have specific dates you're looking for. Once those bid specs are done and go out, they need to be out in the paper and advertised for 10 days. So
So just as a follow-up, it may not happen at
They don't
our...
have for April.
Right, it's probably not going to happen in April, only because of the situation right now. So
Okay.
it may get pushed off until early May.
I think we
but
should
just
at
so
least
everybody
get
in town knows
that
that.
information out to the public as soon as we can, if there won't be a bulk
Yeah,
pickup
I think a reverse 911
in the
might work
spring.
on it or something,
Yeah.
just to let everybody
Yes.
know. A lot of people have been asking me, and that's why I reached out.
Right.
My son
Okay.
actually texted me today, when's the...
People really
Yeah, I mean, just
have a lot
today.
of garbage, I guess.
Just one other thing on the bulk
crazy.
pickup, because I don't know if anybody goes online, exit 138, and the other Facebook page. Got a couple of jokesters out there that are, putting out there April 1st is bulk pickup. Even though it's April Fool's Day, but residents in this town are gonna read that and start putting their crap out April 1st.
That's a good one, that's
It's really funny.
So let's knock off that type of stuff on your Facebook pages and only put out real information. So I can guarantee you there will not be any bulk pickup in April.
Mike, you have something?
We do collect bulk on a daily basis at our facility for a fee.
Right.
Yes, we all know that. Everybody knows that.
So
Nobody wants to pay it. That's the problem.
They can, there is an opportunity.
We do have.
Right.
We can't get rid of it.
I
Okay.
think that I know people know about the fee, but I think everybody's, the townwide that we do is the big concern right now.
With the exception of electronics, right? You can bring that without a fee. And recycling.
Okay,
That's it.
that's it, thank you. Okay, Department of Public Safety, Councilman Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mayor. The newly hired Kennewick Police Officer, Richelli, has completed his field officer training, and Chief Sue says he's been assigned full-time to platoon number 2 under Sergeant Pastor. And this is one of the platoons that had been working shorthanded, and he's a welcome and needed addition. So luckily, he was brought up to speed quick by our FTOs, our field training officers, and we didn't have to wait for him to get out of the academy, and he's already on the street working, which is great. On March 6th, another stolen vehicle was reported to the Kennewick Police Department on North 10th Street. Unfortunately, again, that vehicle was taken because it was left unlocked. I urge everyone in town to please lock your cars, your trucks, anything on the streets, even in your driveways. They actually left the key fob in the car, so it was an easy take. The owner also had bank cards, credit cards in the vehicle, which were used shortly thereafter. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stolen MVs and vehicles and burglaries that are happening in Union County and statewide. I know the mayor sent something out from the League of Municipalities about, I don't know if it was, I don't remember how you sent it out, but I remember receiving something about that. But it's an ongoing problem right now, and unfortunately, due to a lot of the laws that have changed under the current state administration, the police officers' hands are tied. They're not allowed to pursue motor vehicles like they were and take some of the proactive stance, if I'm not wrong, Chief, that we were once able to do. And people know that. The criminals know that they can go out there and get away with a lot more, and the police, unfortunately, their hands are tied. And it puts us in a tough position, but it puts the public even in a worse position because we can't do the job that they're used to seeing because of the statutes that have changed. Also, just a reiteration that Chief Seuss met with the Kennewick Interfaith Council and Mayor Karlovich to finalize the plans for the community forum to be held on Thursday, March 31st at 7 p.m. at the Kennewick Gospel Chapel. The forum will address security concerns for houses of worship, and will also have an open question and answer forum for any other topics. You can email Chief Seuss or Mayor Karlovich for any details on the forum. And we hope that everybody can attend. I know I'll be in attendance. I'm sure the mayor will be in attendance. I know the chief will be. So I think it's a good opportunity to get out and, be proactive in your faith for any situations that could arise and know what you can and can't do and what to expect. Kennewick Police Department is also a collection point for the Ukraine relief being coordinated throughout Union County. Kennewick Police Department's Facebook page and Instagram pages have a flyer posted with details on items that are needed. And I have one here. Some of the items that are included are first aid supplies, from wound care, bandages, aspirin, Tylenol for adults and kids, cough medicine, saline, peroxide, iodine, and any kind of first aid kits or supplies. Toiletries, tools such as flashlights, thermal blankets, sleeping bags, batteries, sewing supplies, and goods such as clothing, shoes, diapers, formula, masks, gloves, and paper products. And this is being done throughout the county. It looks like it's sponsored by the Union County Board of Chosen County Commissioners and the Union County Prosecutor's Office. I urge anyone in town to please help out. It's much needed for the poor people of the Ukraine. And Chief, they could drop it off 24/7 at the police desk, and that's going to be through when? When can they drop it off through?
Not exactly sure what the closing date is on it, but if you have stuff, bring it in, and we'll get it to the next.
So anyone that can spare anything, I know money's tight, gas is going up, all these situations, but please.
Please don't bring in ammunition. Let's go through the proper channels.
Well, they need that too.
Don't bring in ammunition.
They need those too.
And last but not least, I've seen on, I have a ring camera too, and there's a lot of gas siphoning going on. I don't know if there's any in Kenilworth. There is too. I know in surrounding communities right on our Union, Roselle Park, Westfield, a lot of gas siphoning. I know newer cars, it's almost impossible to siphon because it has that ball and you can't push the gas tube down. But if you have an older car, a truck, you can, especially if you have tanks on your truck. So just keep that in mind. At $4 or $5 a gallon, it's going to be soon. It does add up. And last but not least, I spoke with the chief about the Officer of the Month, and we're not going to have an officer this month. He doesn't want to do it just to do it. Whenever an officer goes above and beyond, we're kind of adjusting it a little bit to do it for officers that stand out for a great job, not just to just give it out. So it holds meaning, and we have officers that do a great job every day, but this is for those officers that may have a CPR save or a great investigation in the Detective Bureau or any kind of arrest or whatever it may be. But we'll have more. We just don't have one this month. And that's it for the public safety.
Thank you. Planning and zoning.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Fenestrol, sorry. Get that out.
For the month of February, the construction fees collected for building fees were $10,371. Trust estate fees were $1,083, and miscellaneous fees were $1,120. There were, the last planning and zoning meeting, there were 2 applications that were passed. The next one is April 14th. Nothing yet as far as an agenda or any applications. I want to thank the Planning and Zoning Committee, Casey Sari, Scott Pence, and also Borough Clerk Moore, and Anthony Manguso for conducting interviews for the open position of construction clerk. We've interviewed, I believe it was 3 people. We've liked 1 person. We have 2 more on Friday at 2 o'clock, I believe. 2. And we're hoping to finalize a position, an offer for that position. But as with all classifieds, they're open for 30 days, but we reserve the right to fill that position earlier. Again, April 14th at 7 p.m. is next planning and zoning meeting, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Recreation and Fire, Councilman Pence.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing for the fire department tonight. For recreation, softball will start next week. The Easter egg hunt flyers will go out next week. Easter egg hunt is scheduled for April 10th at the Mario Park at 10 a.m. And the rain date's going to be April 16th. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Health, Education, and Human Services, Councilwoman Cesari.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as Board of Health goes, the Miss Maria, who's been up here quite a number of times about the chickens in her neighbor's yard, they are going to take care of that. There was a grandfather in clause that shouldn't have been there, and the Board of Health is going to be following up on that.
Okay.
Mark had
Great.
done, a lot of the tracking too, and I think things are a little bit less than they were, but still the same.
It's still cold,
They gotta
the
get
spring's coming,
Yep.
there's going to be more rats.
Happy to report, I guess. Well, not happy, there's still some cases. 67 cases were reported as of March 10th of positive COVID, and that's what was reported. So there could be more, but, that's a lot lower than we saw in December and January. The health department wants you to be aware of these wasp hives that they kind of hang in trees. Usually wasps will attach themselves to the side of the building or wherever they can find their way in, but for some reason they're finding these huge hives, hanging from trees and causing problems to people, especially if you're allergic. Just be aware, and if you see any, report it please to the health department, because they do have to take care of that. As Councilman Zimmerman said, yeah, they wanted us to know gas siphoning is it's a big thing going on, and that's because of how the prices are now. So we all know that. And as far as that, the Board of Health, that's it. And just the library have a couple of announcements, maybe a little more than a couple, but I'll start tomorrow, March 17th, and the 24th, the Arnie's program, 2 to 4 p.m. And then on Thursday, March 31st, the night Arnie's at 6 to 7:45. April 5th, Paper Pals will meet from 2 to 4 p.m. Wednesday, April 6th, the new program for adults is being offered from 3:30 to 4:30 fall. Now, I'm going to say this, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right. Hablemos. Thank you. Juntos. I may take this course, if I because I failed Spanish. So, okay, it's an opportunity to practice Spanish and English conversation skills in a required setting while participating in language-related activities. I think that's a good thing. Now, for children's programming, March 19th, we have Borough cartooning. It will be held from 12:30 to 1:30 for all ages 8 to adult. Come learn how to draw your favorite cartoon characters. The program was funded by the Ralph Arrington Fund. Please call the library to register. Let's see, Paper Mill Playhouse, Children's Theater is going to be on tour. Boston Crown, the performance of high-energy songs and modern Broadway shows before the p.m. The program was again funded by the Arrington Foundation. March 29th and April 5th will be Lap Sit. That's for the ladies. And March 30th to April 6th is toddler time from 10:30 to 10:50. And also 10:30 to 10:50 was for the Lap Sit also. March 30th, World of Stories with Children author Denise Lewis Patrick will be held virtually via Zoom, 7 p.m. Ms. Patrick is an author and editor of 30 books, including several American Girl books. That was a big thing years ago. It still is, too. March 31st, Leap into Science Light and Shadow Worship will be held from 3:30 to 4 p.m. for ages 3 and up. And finally, Friday, April 1st, the library will begin its weekly craft schedule for kids ages 4 to 9. It's for real, it's not April Fool's joke. Thank you. Each Friday, the library will host a different craft to be made at the library. Our first craft will be Friday, April 1st at 3:30 p.m. Anyone interested, call the library to register for a craft. And that's all I have on the library. And that is the end of my 2 reports.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Resolution 107 and 109 have been pulled from the consent. I'd like yes.
For Resolution 98, I just would like to know if our engineer had communication with the contractor, and if the contractor expressed an acceptance in terms.
Yeah, I sent it to him, I haven't heard back from him yet. I think he's out of the country. I think when I spoke to him a while ago, he was in Portugal for a while, so I think he's not around, so I'm trying to follow up with him and respond. So as soon as I get back from him, I'll let you know. But I did send it to him.
I appreciate that, thank you. So I'd like to make a suggestion. We have two options, I suppose. One is simply to pull it, and I think that's the easier one, and just wait until the next council meeting. Hopefully we'll have word by then.
Okay.
The other one, and I'm not as comfortable, would be if they had simple changes and you wanted to amend the resolution to indicate that that you, Mayor, would be authorized to execute a settlement agreement that's substantially similar to the one that was proposed.
Okay.
But rather than get into a possible disagreement as to what substantially similar means, since this person's not around to sign it anyway, it's not going to expedite anything, perhaps we should just have a poll and then...
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Is he in agreement?
Okay, so we're, 107, 109, and 98 have been pulled from the consent agenda. So,
I'm sorry, I heard the councilman ask a question. He was in agreement with the monetary terms, but I put a bunch of other terms in there to protect the borough.
Okay.
That I'm sure he didn't contemplate, although they should be, if you took the time to think about it, he should understand he's not getting a free pass.
Right.
But
a settlement.
Stranger things have happened, so I just...
okay, thank you for that. Okay, so the remainder of the resolutions, the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion, got it? Okay.
Resolutions 98, 107, and 109 have been pulled from consent agenda. 107 will be read off consent agenda. Resolutions 95 to 112 are listed on the consent agenda and will be enacted by one motion. All items will be recorded individually in full in the minutes. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
Resolutions 98 and 109 are pulled from consent and will be discussed at another time for further consideration. 107 reads as follows, whereas Borough Code 83-18 of the Borough Code authorizes the appointment of a dog warden to enforce the provisions of Chapter 83 and the statutory provisions of NJSA 4:19-15.1 et sec. Be it resolved that Robert Lonecker be appointed dog warden in the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2022 is hereby confirmed. Be it further resolved that the dog warden be compensated at a rate of $750 per annum. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Cesari? Councilman David?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up, I have an ordinance for public hearing and adoption. Ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance amending ordinance 2018-10, providing for compensation for the Department of Public Works, the Borough of Kenilworth.
Okay, the purpose of this ordinance is to fix and determine the salaries, wages, or compensation ranges to be paid to the officers and employees of the Department of Public Works, who by law are entitled to salaries, wages, or compensation pursuant to NJSA 40A:9-165. Is there a motion to open the floor for public discussion on this ordinance 2022-03 only?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, does anyone have anything to say for this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Tony Giordano Paserno, 241 K2 Avenue. I'm not sure of the context of this ordinance. If somebody could fill me in, Councilman David, can you tell me what it is about?
Yeah,
It doesn't say it anywhere.
Yeah, it basically is increasing hourly rates for laborer, driver, CDL, A, B, the mechanic, laborers, sanitation, laborer, and driver.
So that's the sheet here that was in the back?
Yes, that's what it is. It's increasing it by $5 an hour. And the reason why we're doing this is, over the last 50, probably 75 years or whatever, the DPW has been one of the most underpaid departments that I know of, and these guys do a lot of work, they work hard, and they need to be rewarded. We're losing a lot of good men to other towns because everybody else is offering more money. So in order to try to keep our DPW with the guys that we got, we need to do this.
Okay.
And that's why it's there.
So, in the discussion during the workshop, there was conversation about monies to purchase either new equipment or rehab equipment. So this money, which would be a payroll influx, has nothing to do with buying machinery and things
No.
like that. Like that could still be put in the budget.
Yes.
Even if this is passed.
Yes.
Like it can't be,
Nope.
you can have this, but you can't have that.
No, but that's not the way it's working.
Yeah, because I know next to paying them the right wages, they need the right equipment.
Exactly. And that's why next week we have a, budget meeting with the DPW.
Okay, that was my question, but
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public discussion on this ordinance only?
Motion.
Second.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-03 for adoption?
Motion.
Second.
Be it hereby resolved that ordinance 2022-03, entitled an ordinance amending ordinance 2018-10, providing for compensation for the Department of Public Works of the Borough of Kenilworth, was introduced and approved on first reading at the regular meeting of the Borough Council on February 23, 2022, and approved for final passage at the regular meeting of the Borough Council March 16, 2022. After all persons interested were given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance in accordance with law. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David?
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
And Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like a motion to open the floor to the public.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Mayor, if I could, I'd like to read something before.
Okay, absolutely.
When I started here in 2014, I would never have realized how connected I would be to such a warm community of people. I realize I have been very fortunate. This place, this work, and its people have meant so much to me. I'm proud to have been a member of the team here. Kenilworth gave me a lot of opportunities to learn and grow as a professional, and I'm thankful to the mayors and councils that showed the utmost trust in my skills and dedication. Not only have I been able to polish my skills and enhance my knowledge, but I've been given the opportunity to develop relationships with some truly amazing people, not just in Borough Hall, but throughout the community. Over the years, I have worked with many people, but the people of Kenilworth are truly something special. I am humbled by the kindness of your hearts. We have shared professional and personal successes, celebrated holidays, special occasions, and even mourned together. Some people judge their lives on what they do, others on who they are. I want my life judged on the company I keep, and how blessed I am for just knowing you all. In the middle of our daily businesses, serving the community, meeting the needs of residents, maintaining the infrastructure, initiating projects, and developing new ones, it's all too easy to lose the sight of the most important element of any organization: the person, the people, us, you, me, as individuals with hearts, minds, and feelings. This moment for me is the hardest, saying goodbye. And it's made me realize how much I'm giving up by moving on. But thank you for your belief in me, your support, and your friendship. It's a pleasure and a privilege to have worked alongside colleagues who understand how to bring the best out in each other. I have so many things to be proud of over my time here, but right now, what I'm most proud of is having had the privilege of representing Kenilworth. Thank you. Oh, you had to stand.
I might need one too. Oh, okay. Okay, does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward.
Hi, Nina Vera, 739 Kingston Avenue. Laura, sorry to see you go. I've seen you around town at various functions, not just for your, work-related duties, but I have just a few questions. And I know it was touched on during the workshop, but, and you're, I guess, in the process of looking for someone to fill Laura's shoes, but I think, Laura, you were in a unique position because you were performing two roles, clerk and business administrator. So I do know, being in the field where I work on a lot of municipal projects and bid law and things of that nature, municipal clerk has one set of job descriptions or job tasks, and borough clerk and business administrator have two separate job tasks, but you were performing both. So is it the assumption that we're going to hire one person to fill both, or we're going to hire two separate, a clerk and a business administrator?
We're very likely going to need to hire two people. Or what happened in the past was a lot of this work was farmed out to our professionals. However, that's costly for the
Yeah,
borough.
it's a per hour rate, I would assume.
Yeah.
So a clerk, from my research and, knowledge in the industry, is, somewhere between 50 to 60, depending, per year, 60,000 a year, and a business administrator could be anywhere between 70,000 to 100, depending on their skill set and their experience. So if we had to hire two separate positions, we're talking much more than what we're paying currently, correct?
That remains to be seen. However, I am under the belief that that's possible.
The goal is obviously to hire someone to do all, like what I've been doing in the past. The goal is to hopefully hire someone that can handle both tasks, but under the borough clerk
Yeah,
umbrella.
that's unique though, because I think Laura was doing that at her previous place of employment and another borough. So it came to us uniquely that she had both skill sets.
Yeah, she was hired as borough clerk.
But she had the experience in both.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, she did. She had the experience in both. So, I think that's something that is an issue if we're going to be having to pay professionals, whether it's our town attorney or our engineer. You're writing grants, correct? I think you brought in a few $100,000 in grants, and I'd probably be conservative there. So I think that's commendable for our town and our borough. So I'm sure that the engineer would have to be paid per hour to write those grants or apply for those grants for the town. Correct?
Correct.
The other thing I had a question on, and I'm only making note of this because I'm a registered Republican, but I noticed that on a lot of the flyers when the new council members were running, there was a lot of conversation about the development plan, taxes, but I don't know that any of the new council members were at the planning board meeting to vote on the development plan, except for Councilman Finichella, and he voted in favor of it. So I'm just curious, is there a reason why there was a change of heart? Was there information provided that?
Well, you have to, there's two hats that I'm wearing. I'm the councilman here, which I object to the development. And then the other hat is I'm on the planning board and zoning.
Yeah.
What was presented the evening, last Thursday, everyone critiqued it. They said we would gladly do whatever needs to be done. There was no, even the chair said this was magnificently presented. I've never seen a application this well. So how could I say no if I'm not someone that's familiar building skyscrapers or houses? When I hear from the chair saying, well, this is better than sliced bread,
Yeah.
I had to go with it.
Okay. I just see a lot of things from January, watching all of the meetings. I'm not able to attend all of them, so I do go online and watch every meeting, read the minutes, and there's a lot of implementations over the past few months, whether it be the insurance, meeting dates, changes of chairs, bylaws, and I'm not sure, there's never any explanation why. Like, what is it for the good of the borough? Which of these changes are going to affect us in a positive way, other than to cost us administration dollars to change the bylaws, to change, I'm pretty sure the clerk or the deputy clerk has a lot of paperwork to do every time something's changed and there's no...
Well, if I may say so, you might want to direct that question to Councilman Puglisi. He rewrote the bylaws.
Yeah.
Right, so...
I just don't, I hear you guys, I think Councilman Cesarian, Mayor Karlovich, I hear you ask a lot of questions and I don't ever hear an answer.
Is there a question?
The question is like, what were, for instance, if we want to go down the list, what was the change to the insurance? For what reason? Was there a better insurance plan? Was there better pricing?
Most of the stuff came from recommendations from the hires from other towns. So we asked around, and we knew that, like with any change of administration, and that was essentially what it was. Whenever there's any change in administration, in any form of government, there's going to be enough people, and it goes from the municipal level to the county level to the state level. Yes, there's always going to be, there's going to be a change in administration, there's going to be a change in personnel. That's why when the president gets elected, he has his own staff, right? That's why when counties change administration, there's always, and I've seen it in Essex County, there's always going to be a change in attorneys, because people want to bring in people who have been recommended from other people and who have, at least in black and white, the better credentials. So that's what happened. We took another eye and looked at everything. So at least when we got the RFPs, I looked them over. I mean, and it was the changes that needed to be made. Not all the changes were made. I think we kept, I believe it was bond counsel, because it was the best person, best firm. They came recommended. They did a good job.
So you looked over the RFPs? You said I looked over them, you looked them over? Not the council as a whole?
I can only speak to myself, okay? So I never received the summation that Cassis prepared and forwarded to us. Everyone got a copy of it. So that's...
What were the other towns that used that insurance company?
Mountainside.
Mountainside?
Yes, and there was some manager.
Mountainside, so larger?
Smaller.
Smaller?
I think similar.
See, that's about as close. That's what you want to do. You want to get... You don't want to ask Elizabeth's opinion, right? Because they're just in a different atmosphere.
I would just think that the point of the council is to bring forth changes, everybody review them together, vote on them together for the good of the borough. And it just seems like when questions were asked, it was a blindsided, no, we're just making this change because we want to make the change. So as a citizen, I'm curious if I'm saving money, if the borough has better coverage, lesser coverage.
Well, that's always the goal, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the change was to give better professionals, in our opinion, for a lower price. Now, the proof is going to be in the pudding. I mean, we can only go on what we saw and what was recommended, like anything else, right? When you hire a home contractor, right? He's never worked on your house before, and you go on recommendations, you go on Yelp, and you get the prices, you compare the prices. So, I mean, that's the goal, right? And we'll have to see how it pans out in the future.
Well, I'm reviewing everything over the past few months, and I don't see how any of these changes are beneficial to the borough. There's everything that was on your flyer, all of your flyers when you ran, none of that has been addressed, but we have a dog warden, we have taken a stipend away, given it, we've lost a borough administrator and clerk. I'm pretty sure if I go down the list, there's various other things. You said you were going to fight for the redevelopment plan, but then one of the council members voted for it, and nobody attends the planning board meetings to ask the tough questions as to what's happening with the redevelopment plan. All of the various concerns that many people have about the project, none of you attended to ask, hey, what's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? How are you going to address it? Are there changes that could be made to the engineering design?
That's a good question. We wanted to attend, but I asked council if it was appropriate to attend. And on the advice of council, it was better that we not attend. So we did.
The town attorney told you not to attend?
Correct. On the advice of council, it was better if we didn't attend. So that was the reason.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to
3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Rich Paserno, 241 Phase 2 Avenue. I'd like to start out by talking to Laura just 2 seconds, or 2 hours. Over the many years that we've worked together, and you've been part of this town, you are a staple here. You are a friend, a confidant, and you are one of the best people that this town ever hired. You have also become dear to my heart and a very close friend. I have confided in you and you to me on other issues, and it's a great loss. And I understand why you're moving on, and I wish you well where you're going. And if you would ever need me for anything, I'm your friend forever, and God bless you and your family. A couple of things. One suggestion I'm going to ask the governing body, as I'm sitting here in the cheap seats, as they call them, if you could project a little bit more, as Mr. Zimmerman does. I can hear him clearly, but some of the things are getting lost up there, and it's very, very difficult to figure out what you're saying and what you're not saying. And also, when the minutes are played back, it's a little distorted. So, and it brings me to my next question. Earlier, when you were talking about the hiring of the DPW gentleman, and Mr. Polisi, I think you said, and I could be wrong because I couldn't hear you, but I think Mr. Zimmerman cleared it up. I think you said that the man before that chose a raise in pay. Was that in lieu of hiring someone? Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, at the DPW meeting we had was that, was discussions whether we should start with raises or hires. So initially, it was thought that, let's just start off with raises and then go to the hires. So, but the budget's just taken so long. I guess the department head decided to go with the hires.
So then I heard you correctly, but Mr. Zimmerman, you said clearly that the DPW was underpaid and you were trying to get them up to a bracket so they wouldn't leave.
Yes.
So that is commemorable because they deserve a lot more than they're making, and probably the raise is not even going to be close to what they should be getting, but we have to start somewhere, so that's a step in the right direction. But
We don't want to lose them.
We don't want to lose them.
Yeah, we're already short, and we can't afford to lose them.
We can't afford to lose them, and we definitely need 2 more employees just to get that workload off. And I guess the word was kudos to Mike about being a carpenter and doing things there, so that's the kind of people that we want in our town that can wear more than one hat, which brings me to Mr. Venestrella. At the planning board meeting, he did say, even the chairman said, this is a bread and butter application. I don't want that to be misconstrued. What I did say was that this is a very clean application. There's no variances, there's no waivers, everything is conforming, and this is what I meant by that. I didn't allude to, oh yeah, we're going to pass this, we're going to deny this, and I wanted to make that very clear. I also congratulated Mr. Venestrella that evening for being a Republican that is standing on the side of Republicans. I am also a Republican. Had the courage to make the motion and get this thing done. Every member voted positively. I also want to clarify that there are some things that are going on in the Facebook world and Exit 138, and everybody has a page these days, and it has been said that even the Republican voted for it, alluding to that he was the only one. Mayor Kolovich appointed people on that planning board that are registered Republicans. She had a choice early on to remove them this year, but she chose not to because of the professionalism and the hard work that they do. When we're sitting up there, we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're not independents. We have to work for the town. We have to take the case that's in front of us, listen to our professionals, and also the people that they bring in and decide what we need to do at that point. So I want to make that perfectly clear. There was also some statements made that my daughter, Nina Vera, has getting her information from me, or she's siding with me because I'm the board chair, but the person that has saying these things on the Facebook page has not come forward with their name, and they're camouflaged by an alias. Unless their name is Lex Luthor, I don't mean wrong. But what I'm trying to say here is, there is discord, but there's not discord at the planning board level. We need to make our town right. We are going to do everything right every step of the way, no matter what happens here at the council level. We just wish, although the honorable attorney made a recommendation that it may be better for you not to attend, I'm praying that all of you attend these meetings. We need help. We need your input. We don't need fistfights. We don't need gloves on. We need to get these people on board with the right information.
Absolutely.
We're talking about traffic. We're talking about all this craziness that they just conjure up because somebody told them something different. Mr. Puglisi, Judge, sir, you are attorneys. You rely on experts. Experts that come into your courtroom and either are for you or against you. The people that they brought there, one was from the applicant, the other from the engineering firm. The applicant had a perfect traffic application. The one from the engineering firm, Harbor Consultant, actually said he's right, but he's a little bit wrong because it's even better. So the town did its diligence by saying, am I correct? The town did its diligence by saying, hey, listen, we're not just going to take the application and the testimony of the applicant. We're bringing our people in to make sure it's done right. And they did so. And they found that the traffic patterns and the levels will be different and better with this unit there. I'm not advocating for the unit. I'm not advocating for the application. I'm advocating for the professionals and what we heard. That's what I'm advocating for. I could care less if they painted purple, but if it comes in front of us and it's conforming, no variances, no waivers, we have one job to do, and that's to approve it. And anybody who denies it, we have within our power and our jurisdiction to ask why. Because then we have to figure out what's going on here. Because you don't like the color purple, it's not the way to do it. So I applaud you. This is something that you did in the right manner. And I hope everyone else can get on board because our town is involved in a pilot. We may be involved in a lawsuit. We may be involved in a lot of things that are going around town. I go on the facts. Didn't a TV show say that? Strictly the facts? And I wish everyone else here would do the same. So please, I invite you to come to the meetings. I am a general contractor, builder, site contractor, and I'm one of those guys that invites the building, electric, plumbing, inspectors, the zoning officers to my sites because I know that what we're doing is right. We're transparent. We need to make it good for all. I'm not waiting for the inspector to leave to put the pipe in the way I want it. I'm doing it the right way, and so is our planning board. Please, council, help us out here. We need to move forward in our town. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I address that comment, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, Chairman, your comments were directly on point. I don't disagree with virtually anything that you said. I just feel compelled to explain the reason for the advice. You are an autonomous body, and the councilman wears two hats, as he had indicated. And if you have a fully conforming application, you have a job to do, right? And there's no secret, because we're going into closed session to discuss anticipated litigation, right? So the pilot has its own issues. What happens? Quite frankly, I don't even know because nothing's decided, but it's going to be confidential until that point in time it's made public. But that cannot influence your job as chairman, and it cannot influence his job as a planning board member. So my advice was predicated upon the fact that I did not think that it was advisable for council people to attend a planning board meeting and have their presence potentially influence the vote of any planning board member. And I didn't want their presence, because I don't know which way that application is going to go. I don't know anything about it, right? If it went down and we ended up having council people that are adverse to the pilot present, then that's going to give the applicant an argument that maybe there was undue influence, and that's the reason why it went down. So there was a reason, and it was actually out of respect for your position and your board that my advice was given, just so that you know.
Thank you very much. May I address back? The thing
Yes,
that I would like to also add here, I can appreciate that, and I understood why they weren't there. I am talking about in the future. They are also citizens of our town, and they are elected officials, and they are very, very powerful when it comes to what goes on. So almost out of the scene in The Godfather when Michael brought the guy in and he was sitting in a chair like this here. I get it.
That was before Congress, right? That was
I
testimony.
get it. But with respect, I'm asking everyone in our town, in our community, come to our council meetings, come to our planning boards. You hear me preaching that all the time, because if you leave it up to council and you leave it up to planning board, we have no choice but to do it on our own. So we're doing the best job we can. So I think that's the road I was going down, and probably good advice that you gave Mr. Puglisi and probably the other Republicans on the board. However, I do strongly feel, very, very strongly feel, that even though you're going into closed session for a redevelopment conversation, we need to put a quick break on this, a halt. We need to come to an understanding, not an understanding, it's never good to say that to an attorney, but a good closure, because the town is going to suffer the loss. They have to know this. The people in the town are going to suffer the loss. If we get a builder's remedy, we're in trouble. We are just going to be spending money that we don't have to spend because, Mr. Cimarero, you know as well as I do, it's inevitable what's going to happen.
I can't comment on that, and I just want to state publicly that my absence of a comment isn't a concession to the point.
I get that.
We're in litigation. You're certainly entitled to your opinion, but it would be my advice to the governing body and the administration, and I'm going to honor that advice to myself as well, that we can't rebut what you're saying because we can't discuss.
I guess it is my opinion, but I would just then also caution our townspeople that from what I know, what is going on, and I don't know what they're going to discuss, but I know at the end of the day, we need to do certain things in our town in order to move forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything to say?
I'm nervous, but I'm...
Come on up. Don't be nervous.
I feel like
We're nice.
the principal's office, I don't know. Kelly Clementi, 400 Lincoln Drive. I just have some questions, and I know it came up before about stipends, and maybe we're not allowed to talk about them. Maybe not, I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm just curious of how many stipends are in the town to town employees, and maybe somebody on the finance committee. I don't even know who's on the finance committee. I know Mr. Puglisi is. Mr. Bennett, does anybody know how many stipends are given out to borough employees through the town?
Yes, I just have requested that information,
So have I, so I'm waiting for my Oprah request.
Yeah,
So we'll both know maybe together.
Well, yeah, so as of now, we have, we had Laura. We also had one to the health department, and there was also, let's see, there was one to the,
I'm just looking for it.
there was one to the dog warden, and now we have someone else in there. I believe are down to those three now off the top of my head.
So there's
Some of, there were more in the past, as I understand it, and they got rolled into their salaries, so. There's stipends, okay, there's two different types of stipends, and I guess the question is.
That was my second question.
So, the way I view them, and I don't know, I view them, there are stipends you give to people, and that's all they do, right? So whatever, dog word, whatever you want to do, that's all they do, right? Then there are stipends that you give to current employees, which is on top of their salary. So I think you need to distinguish the two. I think,
Right.
so.
One is given for a job well done, and one is given for a job. Right? Or
No,
extra
I would
work.
characterize them as that.
Or extra work for a stipend?
They're done given for a specific job. So above the duties of your regular job.
Okay.
Or as full compensation for a non-salary job, right?
Correct.
So there was, how many, you're saying stipends? 3? 5?
What I recall, you're talking about the stipends on top of the salary? Is that the question?
We'll go there first.
Yeah,
Okay.
so stipends on top of a salary, what I recall was, there was health benefits coordinator, there was borough administrator, there was the Board of Health individual for the events, and I believe that's it off the top of my head. There was more last year that got rolled into salary.
And how many would you say that is? Just an
I would say maybe
10, 5?
No, not at all, not that much. No, I would say maybe 3 or 4, maybe 3.
Do you have any more information?
So my question is, when you took away a stipend, how did you come to that you were targeting those stipends?
I would just,
I'm just curious.
No, I understand.
You know, you didn't have all your meetings yet. I know you just started your budget meeting, so like when you came in January, and all of a sudden it was all about stipends, how did you come to that? If
it was anything other than, if your answer is anything other than economics, I don't think you could divulge it.
Economics. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's obviously the reason. I mean, what else? I mean, that's,
Okay.
so, I mean, it's.
So economics, but yet you took it away from one to give to someone else, so
Correct.
that's a different type of.
Right, so here's the thing, absolutely, so when I see something, so I view it as if somebody's already on the payroll and they're working 9 to 5, that's what they should be doing, right? I don't believe in stipends if you're on the payroll. If you're working 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, whatever you want to do it, and you have a title, that should be what you're here for.
But if it's not in your job description, you're doing that job too, you should be compensated for it.
Well,
I think.
the goal is, and still is to modify the job description so we don't end up in that type of position. So whatever stipends were taken away would be, planned to be taken away, or were taken away. We'd modify the job description to include that stipend, whatever that stipend was being provided for, so the stipend would no longer be necessary.
So who is going to do those jobs that you're eliminating?
It would be staff.
You're going to hire someone else to do that job?
The goal is.
Just do the job for less pay and it's going to get done.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So that's what
So my other question is, how come you're targeting the 3 people that are the face of Kenilworth daily, day in and day out, and taking money away from them when they're doing a great job? Has anybody complained? We're not talking about they're not, they can't do the job, or, they don't, get along with everybody, or the public is complaining, and you're taking these jobs away from people that are like the face of Kenilworth. I mean, don't you guys see that?
Yeah, I complain.
I mean,
It's getting to the point where you're,
I'm not badgering if that's where you're going.
No, it isn't. And while it may be perceived that I have some agenda in my corrections. It isn't.
Okay.
It's purely legal driven. And I'm trying to give latitude because that's what the goal is, but we're coming dangerously close to being able to clearly focus on who it is that we're talking about, and now the question is...
He gave me the information that it was exactly what the job description was. There's only so many people that work in the borough.
Well, I understand, and as we
in
get...
the town that we are, 7,000 people, we all know who does what, and it's just...
I understand that. Now your question was a little bit more pointed, right? These people are the face of the borough.
They are.
And...
They are,
you know,
they're being targeted.
well, that's certainly your opinion.
That's my opinion,
and-
whether it's personal or political, I don't know. All right, I don't want to argue. I'm not into arguing.
Yeah, I just had, now that the question started to focus on performance-related and non-economic reasons, I would have to instruct the governing body not to respond, because now it's coming too close to a personnel-related exception to the Open Public Meetings Act.
All right.
Okay? And that's the reason.
So don't attend meetings and don't answer questions. Got it.
Well...
Okay, so my next question...
As the law requires, because otherwise, your question, if answered, would expose the borough to a lawsuit and taxpayers to financial exposure. So I'm doing my job whether you believe it or not.
members' conduct, that's why.
Getting to, well, I'm going to
Still
revisit that, but...
taking steps to give them advice in order to minimize financial liability for violating the Open Public Meetings Act.
Okay. So my other question is there department heads for every department? Anybody?
There is.
Does every department have a department head? That's what I'm
Yes.
asking. Yes?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Okay. So my question is, was the department heads involved in the decision to take away stipends or reduce stipends or give stipends to other people? Anybody on finance?
It's still unclear to me on who, when and where these conversations even happened. It's unclear to me.
But so my question is, are the department heads aware of the fact that their employee that is under them is going to be losing their stipend, not getting a stipend, taking their stipend and giving it to someone else? That's a question. Anybody?
Yes.
I guess has a decision been made, or the budget's not established yet?
No, the decision has been made. It was on the agenda and voted on tonight.
Okay.
That's the one.
Well, I guess the question is, does the department head know?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Was the department head involved in the decision? Not maybe involved. Was the department head notified that your person under you is going to lose that money, be shifted to someone else, or not have it in their paycheck?
Yes.
I don't have a problem.
So all department heads were filtered down, so...
If you're talking about employees who already have a salary and whose salary was, and a stipend.
Or the other way.
But,
You have somebody getting a stipend that is under a department head.
that's not a salaried employee?
I don't know, I don't care, what does it matter? It
No,
doesn't matter.
it's different answers.
Okay,
So-
then give
so-
me two different
So the
answers.
first one was yes, the second one is no,
And why would that be?
because it was an economical decision. So it was based upon economics.
Okay. All right. I think, so, let me ask this question. So are the 6 members and the mayor notified before something hits the agenda? I know things have changed, your bylaws, you're the...
I think as always, no. I think the answer is no. I think that's always been that way, and it's ever since I've been on council, it's never been that way. So I think that would be kind of problematic. It would be hard to do without,
So they're not aware
Can I
of
hear
it.
that question again? I'm not butting in, I just didn't hear.
I just wanted to know if the 6 members and the mayor are not involved. Do they see the agenda before it becomes an agenda? Or is it discussed or?
No. There's like a pre-agenda?
Yeah.
No.
So anybody could put anything on the agenda?
No.
Just Joe?
Just me.
Not the mayor, just the Borough Council President.
All right.
Somebody has to do it. So that's what the bylaws provide for.
The bylaws that you wrote.
Absolutely. The bylaws that I wrote. And was voted upon.
All right, so let me ask you this. They were discussing that, people are leaving and other people have filled in, and we all know that everybody has a helping hand here when the DPW is short. I'm sure people helped out and did, and when the building department is short, other people are helping out, answering questions to the best of their knowledge or whatever. When people are going to fill in, say, and I don't want to mention any names, when people leave, are those people going to be compensated or get stipends for that? Or are we just assuming that they're going to just do it? Thank you.
Sorry, what's the question?
I believe the question that you are asking is that will those people that have stepped up and worked extra while the departments have been short, will they be compensated? And my answer is that I am in favor of course, of compensating those people. And I'd also like to add that our borough attorney is compensated, and if he was suddenly performing engineering duties, he would also be compensated. So to ask people to go above and beyond their job description or rewrite their job description to encompass all of these other things without compensating them is going to create more people leaving the borough. It's not what you say to somebody that you appreciate. It's not how you treat people that are working hard for the community. It's not fair to say you're an attorney and suddenly now you're going to start grocery shopping for seniors or whatever you're going to do, but you're going to do that because now we've decided or someone's decided that that's part of your job description now. So I'm not in favor of any of stipends being removed from any borough employee without a lot of conversation, because we are, again, I said this last time, there's a human being behind these decisions, and people count on that money, and to just be removed and given to someone else without conversation from everyone involved on this governing body and the department heads is wrong. I can't say it any clearer than that.
I totally agree with you, Mayor. And I think a lot of people do. I mean, it's all over. It was a beautiful day today. I'm out there. I don't know how many people stop me and ask me about this stipend. What do I know? Okay, I worked in a school for 16 years.
And then flooded of
people
emails
are like,
by
why
residents.
is this happening? What is going on? What is going on? I know you're trying to save the town money. I get it. But the times that we're going through now, you're taking money away from people. It's not like they're not doing their job, or they were let go because they couldn't handle the job, or people are complaining, saying, why is that stupid person working uptown, or they're not doing their job effectively. It's not the case. These are people who are doing their damn best in our town, and they're the face of our town. They're the first people that when people come into our borough, they see Laura, they see everybody, and it's sad. It's very sad to know that that's the road you're going.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta understand, okay, so,
I mean,
no one ever said that no one not doing their job well, first of all right, so, but secondly,
well, let me put it this way, if you're not saying they're not doing their job well, why are you taking money away from people that are doing other people's jobs at the same time? I don't get it. We've been short in the borough office here how long? And you don't think these other girls are jumping over trying to help out? Yes, they might not know the full extent of that job, but when that customer comes in, that town employee, they're going to help them.
Absolutely.
And you're turning around saying, slap your face, slap your face, slap your face.
No, actually, that's incorrect. So there's, for a couple of reasons.
And that's what you're showing, that's what the town is seeing.
I understand,
Yeah, and,
but
God, I'm sorry.
it's okay. Yeah, you're passionate, we're all passionate, and you should be passionate. The more passionate you are and everyone else
We're
here
a
is
small
about it.
town, we should all
Absolutely.
be on the same raft here.
And we are, we just have different avenues of getting there. And so, that's the thing. And that's why, the mayor and I, and all 7 of us, at points we disagree with each other, but we're passionate because we love this town. So, if you disagree with something and we disagree, it's not because, I don't like the town or she don't like the town. We all have the same goal, just how we want to get there. So, we do have this Merck appeal hanging over our head. So, from my perspective, I'm the chair of the finance committee. I stepped up to the plate. I wanted to do it. That's probably one of the few positions I haven't had here. We have to have some austerity measures in place and plan for the worst. Last year, we took money out of the surplus, which that money is there for a rainy day. It's going to start raining. Merck's filed their tax appeal.
I don't know.
The question is,
Yeah.
I can't predict the future litigation, but the sense I get is that, there's a risk of our revenue from taxes going down, a significant risk. Okay, so we have to install austerity measures, and that's just one of the things that we have to do. So I just need to point that out to you. It's not because of anything other than that. So, and that's what we should, quite honestly, probably shouldn't use surplus last year, but we did. So, and this year, the goal is not to use surplus. When I've been dealing with the CFO, and we're not going to use surplus.
I just want to add that you're saying that you took an $800 stipend from a borough employee and gave a $750 stipend to a resident of Kenilworth because Merck has a tax appeal? Because that's what I just heard you say.
Yep.
I don't want to talk about anything specific, any specific positions. I don't know if I can.
Well, I'm talking about the specific stipend. I'm not even talking about the actual position.
I have a question. What is the tax point? What is the tax point?
I'm sorry?
What is the tax point?
I think it's 28. I'm not sure off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Mr. Blum?
Ken?
You said, what is a tax point?
A tax point.
No, what is it and how much is the tax point? Or we won't know that until the budget.
We won't know until we...
Yeah, it's not finished.
So am I to, maybe I don't really know this, but is it like $90,000 you have to get to before you get a point of our tax dollars or something like that?
It's about 100,000 and change for a tax point.
Right.
Overall.
So we need to get to that before any resident would get a savings, and we're taking $800 or $2,000 or
$50.
$4,000 away from somebody?
$50.
I mean, we're talking,
I don't want to get into specifics too much, but the goal of the new hiree is to actually do canvassing, as was mentioned before, so which had been taking place in the past, what I recall.
Well-
I actually remember seeing it.
well, I can tell you, I was the dog warden.
I understand, I know that.
Okay, and my daughter was 6 years old, and I did go around and canvass and knock on doors and do all that, and it was probably 22 years ago, okay? And I was advised, I did it for I don't know how many years, till I got tired of doing it, and I was advised by the police, and I don't know, Mr. Zimmerman, if you were there then, or if it was Billy Dow, I don't know who it was, I really have no recollection, said it was very unsafe to be doing that. Because we had problems on 23rd Street, I was knocking on doors, they were like, whoa, this is not a good thing for a girl to be walking around, knocking on doors in this time. And that was 20 years ago, and that's God's honest truth. And since then, they took it inside, so, I mean, that's the truth. That's why they stopped doing that, because I was told to stop doing that.
All right, well, we have a difference of opinion, so, that's what's going to happen forward, what hasn't happened in the past, so that was the point of the change.
Okay. Did I ever get any answer on the compensation for filling in? No?
Yeah, actually, I believe it's on the agenda. Well, maybe it's not on the agenda. It's on the agenda. So actually, the answer is yes. It would actually happen in one of the departments.
Just in one.
So it came before the Finance Committee recently, where someone was doing more work. She stepped in the shoes of somebody else while that person was away, or no longer an employee of the borough. So it came before the committee to give that person extra money, and for that reason, we approved it. It came before, it was discussed, and it was on the agenda.
And I just want to say, last year was a rough year with COVID to say, we went into surplus. I'm sure that had a factor, but whatever.
Yeah, but we also had, we received extra money from the state too, so.
And we're getting extra money, you told us tonight.
The goal, well, hopefully.
123,000 maybe.
That's the hope.
Okay. We're talking pennies here.
Kim Van Buster, 224 North 20th Street. I don't have complaints, I don't have anything. All I'm gonna say is, everybody's talking about the money being taken away. I think it goes way beyond that. It's about respect. Treat people with respect, and maybe we wouldn't have people walking by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sal Candarella, 320 North 21st Street, Kenilworth. Mayor Trippitt put me on the planning board. I sat up there as a councilman for 6 years or so. Rich is pretty much on par, and I commend Joe for his vote. When the development came in front of the planning board, they asked for no variances. They were granted. What we didn't take into consideration was that mayor and council, and at that time it was a Democratic majority, wrote the ordinance to allow the developer to do X, Y, and Z. Build 162 units, 3 stories, parking, all of that. The mayor and council wrote that ordinance. As I said, it was a Democratic majority at that time. The council wrote that ordinance that allowed the developer to come in without any variances. So what Rich and his team did, and Joe, was right. The developer came in with no variances, and it had to be granted, which was right. But it goes back to mayor and council, who wrote the ordinance that allowed him to do what he did, or to build what he did. So Rich is right, and Joe is right in voting positive, but it's mayor and council who allowed 162 units to be built. Thank you. Well, one other thing, Robert's rules are not really being followed correctly. We should look into that, or advise mayor and council to Robert's rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I just take 1 more minute?
Yes, please.
Rich Pacerno, 241 Fayette Avenue. Mr. Candarella is absolutely correct in everything he said except one thing. It's been alluded to that the mayor and council adjusted the 165 units to make it so it can be passed. But if you go back over 5-7 years, there have been 5 developers that looked at this property, people who have put deposits on this property, some of which wanted 301 units, who wanted 250 units, and the density is just not there for the property. If you really want to take a look at what the mayor has done, they said, no, you're not bringing in 262 units into this property, and yes, got it down to where the property was not busting out at the seams. So, Ms. Candarella, you're right, it was 165, but it wasn't curtailed to the developer. It's what the about the value, what the parcel could handle in that. The mayor didn't have anything to do with that. That was presented by the owner, and you're involved in that kind of stuff, so you know how it works. Your family is very big in development, and they do a great job. So you know it doesn't go in reverse. If that is presented and it can fit the property, that's how it really works. That's just to that point. I wanted to make that clear, because he's not wrong. It's 165 units, and it fits. The other thing is, I want to go back to all these wonderful people talking about the people who were being hired, fired, stipend, and this and that, and I think we're hearing it into a blue in the face, and you could make me as blue as possible, because I was told by, actually not told by, I heard Mr. Puglisi say that he needs to save money for the taxpayers in our town. And he's 100% correct. All budgets need to be adjusted in order to make things work within reason. Since this all came out many, many months ago, back to January, I would imagine, not many, but I have not seen one of those taxpayers up here saying, good job. Everybody has been in defense of what was in place. That's not the place to pull it. So when you're looking at it, and you know, gentlemen and ladies, I've been up here just about every council meeting, and I have not seen anybody in support of that. And I've heard you guys say, well, this is what the people want. This is why they voted for me. They're not here defending it. You're seeing the opposite from both sides. So I just wanted to put that out there for you, that maybe you should take a look at it a little bit closer. Sal?
Sal Sandra again, and I think I'll take offense to, not offense, but a different opinion. 162, in my opinion, doesn't fit. 80 would have fit. Was it 300? Was it 200? Was it 100? To me, 162 is way too dense for that. Less than 4 acres of land. It comes out to 37 or whatever per acre. 44 per acre. That's a huge density. I mean, this is history. You've already passed it. You've already proved it. But in Rich's opinion, it fits. In my opinion, it does not fit. Thank you.
I would just like to point out just one thing, like Rich said, as to the previous mayors. Regarding that specific property, Kathy, Mayor Flamingo, was approached. She said no dice. I was approached. I said no dice. So, it wasn't something that was necessarily mandatory, at least when it came to us. We said no. The people after us said, we'll listen. And that's, I guess, a difference of opinion. So, but I just want to point that out.
And Fred, and you can do the math. 4 acres minus 25% common area, you only get about 25, 50 by 100 lots on that site. If you incorporate roads and sidewalks, you would only get 25, 50 by 100 lots, which is basically the average size lot in this town. So we went from 25 single families to 160 something. In my opinion, too dense.
Guys, I want to try a case up here. The thing is that, everybody has a different opinion, and you know what they're like, right? So what you have to also understand, this town needs a program. We are subject to a program. We have a parcel that can handle the program. And it's not because somebody just said, hey, what a great idea. Going back to Kathy Flamingo, Mr. Puglisi, I was also part of those conversations with you, Mr. Candarella, Tony Giordano, and others. We were talking about senior housing. We were not talking about rental development. Everything that we talked about back then always wrapped around senior housing and 55 and older. So there was many discussions. The one great thing about owning a construction company is I keep volumes of files and go back and back and back and back on meetings. And I can tell you that that was always talked about. When was Mr., I guess I can't mention names, going to sell his property? And, right, I mean, you know it. Listen, we're on the same team but opposite opinions. You gotta really look way back. This thing was sold 4 or 5 times, and when he couldn't get a piece of that action, he put the kibosh on it. We finally have something that's is going to get us on the map, and then we'll be in compliance with the state regulations. Mr. Kidd. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Paserno.
Good evening, everyone. Joseph Rizzo, 212 North 21st Street.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, I just came in at the tail end of the conversation, but conveniently to my first point about the project, the redevelopment project that Sal is saying that it doesn't fit on the property. I was at the planning board meeting, excuse me, and I actually came up and asked the board members twice, compelled to them to ask for an environmental impact statement for this project, which, Madam Mayor, if you recall, you even heard rumors that the site was contaminated.
Yes.
And through the history of the site...
Rumors. I heard rumors.
Yes, rumors, but of course, it's not. But compelled the board to ask for an environmental impact statement. We were told that it's still going to be submitted with a partial of the health department, but that's not for the entire project itself. And when I was up at the planning board for a conforming minor subdivision, I was asked numerous questions for stormwater management. For a project of this size, not one question was asked on stormwater management, which was another concern of mine. Talking about how things fit on the site, how are we attenuating the water, how are we containing it? Aside from the traffic, there's a lot of other questions that come into play for this project. And I'm sure the planning board looked into it all, but there were just some things, especially from the environmental aspect, that really concerned me about this project. And I'd just like to know that that was being looked into.
I wasn't at the planning board meeting, so I would ask the chairman to please come back up again.
Mr. Rizzo happens to be a friend of mine, and he was at the planning board meeting, and I have to say one thing about Mr. Rizzo, he always has good questions, and he did ask the planning board members and the professionals that were there about this environmental question. And it was also stated and on record that back about 25 years ago, there was an environmental study done. And he said, 25 years ago? He said, yes, 25 years ago. However, there was a preliminary study done in 2019. However, after this study, it would be provided, they would have to, once they break ground, have an LSRP on site, and all environmentals would be taken care of at that point. There will be no dumping of contaminated waste. There'll be water monitors. We asked all the questions, and it is part of the record. It was asked and answered. When Mr. Rizzo asked, I think, the attorney, if he was going to provide him with that information, I think he said he didn't have to.
That's correct. He said, well, it's none of my business, it's none of our business.
I don't know the exact words. If he said that, Mr. Rizzo, that's one thing. But I can't get involved with the attorney may say to someone in the audience, because I'm not an attorney. I have to rely on professionals. The testimony was stated, it was an environmental done in 2019, and that they would follow the rules of the permit department, the zoning department, and nothing will be built without them going forward, and that would also be part of the resolution. So that's what was stated.
Thank you.
Can we move on from this?
Anyone else have anything to say?
Yes, Nancy Zimmerman, North 7th Street, Kenilworth. I have a question, and it probably belongs more at the planning board, and you've got a new best friend out at the meetings.
Thank you.
Regarding the traffic issues, because as you mentioned, Facebook, with your daughter's comment that was on the other day. I don't generally jump into Facebook, but the statement that the planning board meeting presented that the traffic was going to actually be improved by putting these 165 units in there did not make sense to me. I drive that stretch every day.
Can the public get copies of the traffic studies that were done by the professionals?
Sure.
That would be great. That would be great. Because listen, I'm not a traffic expert, or I have no clue.
And somebody mentioned that too, and my response to that was that's assuming the experts are correct, because experts have been known to be wrong. And we had an expert opinion in this borough once that you mentioned the word Waldorf almost put us into bankruptcy based on an expert's opinion on what we should and shouldn't be doing in this borough. So I'm saying common sense kicks in a little bit here. When you drive back and forth down that stretch at any time of day to tell me that we're going to put in 165 units in the back end, so all those other businesses that exist, the Protection Plus, the Two-Ton Brewery, the other shops, they'll still be there. So the only thing we're really getting rid of is that kind of back empty lot that has trucks parking in it.
There's a lot of trucks parked in there.
Yeah, but those trucks don't come and go. I don't stay, not during the normal hours of the day when I'm
Yeah,
driving.
they do come and go, though. They do.
Not during the time of day that I'm driving, is what I'm saying.
I can help you with that.
I literally, if I'm smart enough on any given day, make sure I'm in the right lanes coming up the boulevard so I can make the cut through on that street to get through in one traffic light instead of 2 or 3 that it can take to get from Market through Michigan. So it doesn't make sense, and that's what, not just myself, but a lot of people are concerned with. How can we say that we're going to put in 165 units? People are going to drive that live in those units. People are going to go to work that live in those units. How is that going to lessen the traffic during the time of day when everybody else is traveling? So I'd love to see the traffic study. I don't know if I have to pay
I think
for
we
it.
can provide it to you.
Well, I can answer that question.
Okay.
if I may.
Sure.
So with any land use application, the zoning department has to keep on file all the submissions that are made as part of that application and have them available for copy to members of the public. So you could go by way of an Oprah request, certainly.
Right, then you have to pay whatever per page.
Correct. And most towns will let you peruse the file if you go down in person.
Just go and look at it and you don't have to.
Right.
Okay. Then my second question that popped up, when Mrs. Clementi mentioned job descriptions. Does the borough have written job descriptions for every job within the borough? Just out of curiosity. I know, being on the school board, as long as we have job descriptions for all school employees and what their duties are. Do we have written job descriptions for every member of, every employee of the borough?
Do we
I swear to every, but we have, I believe, the majority.
Majority. Can't swear. I think we would have to look into that and get back to you on the exact, because it's possible there is. I just don't know 100% sure. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I will find out and answer that question for
All right,
you.
yeah, because I'm curious, because there's been
Yeah,
a lot of
sure.
talk going back and forth among everybody about whose job was this, whose job was that, why was this person being...
Well, I mean, maybe Mr. Councilman Puglisi can answer that, since you said you were going to rewrite the job descriptions. Did you actually review them so you would know that they existed or not?
Yes, I asked our borough administrator to email me a copy of the job descriptions for people who receive stipends or have been receiving stipends. So I haven't received them yet, but the goal is to get them, and then from there, just look at all the job descriptions in our town. So just because they need to be revamped, right, just in general, right?
Okay, so there may not be job descriptions for everybody, but we're looking into it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
honestly
say there
don't know.
may not. I would say it's more they're likely that there are. I just haven't looked at them myself.
I was just asking, because Ms. just said there was descriptions for a majority was what I heard.
Right. There are some that are maybe 20 years old or better that have yet to be updated. And with all the changes, both federally, state, countywide, with the new regulations and the mandates that have been coming down the pipe, some of them definitely do need to be updated.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Anyone else?
So my biggest request is that Marco changes the position of that camera, because it's not what it's saying. Tony Giordano, Paterno, 241 Fishel Avenue. A couple of things. I just, and this may be more of a comment than anything. When I was on council, you all know that I was on council for a number of years, not as many as some people, but quite a few years. And I happened to be fortunate to serve with Councilman Puglisi and Candarella. And Mayor Fiamingo was in office then and had been for, I forget how many years, she might have been 8 years or something. I think I'm
6.5.
term. So it always was the protocol that the agenda, and if you had any suggestions of things you would like on the agenda, they went to Hetty, from there they went to Laura. She would review everything, make sure the timeline, whatever, and it was approved by the mayor and shared with all the council members, and everything was in our mailbox in the back. So it never went to the council president, and the council president never had the authority to put something on, or take something off, or reject it. That's all new since January. I don't know why that authority was removed from the mayor that was elected, but I guess you put it on, the four of you voted on it, and that was the end. But it wasn't what we elected. We didn't elect you mayor. We elected Mayor Karlovich mayor. So I'm really struggling with that shift of power, and especially that you had been on council prior and were okay with the way it was being handled. So it does look punitive that you would immediately walk in and do things that would put you in a position to circumvent things that had always gone through the elected mayor.
I mean, you have to understand, too, that, and I'm sure council, the borough form of government is what they call the weak mayor form of government. So, I mean, and every town is either a city, a township, a village, and the mayor has different powers depending on what form of government you're in. So with the borough form of government, it is a weak mayor type of government. So we have to, you have to consider that as well. And number two, what you also have to consider is, this is the first time that I can recall that the mayor was part of the minority party. And I've been around, since 1994 or something like that, if not necessarily up here, but working for the borough attorney's office. So when you have a mayor that's not in the majority party, putting something on the agenda, only to have it voted down, is not going to do anybody any good. So when you would want somebody to be on the majority to make the agenda, hence the council president. It cuts a step out. It cut out the entire step that we had to go through, like on reorg day, right? So the mayor has the ability, under statute, to nominate positions, right? So we went through that process of her nominating, of the mayor nominating positions, and then us having to vote it down, and then us having to renominate somebody. Some of them we could do immediately right there, and some we had to wait a month to do it. So by having the majority party, and this is just, this goes from Congress all over. The majority party has some sort of benefits, just that's what it is, right? We were voted against 4-3, all with the primary, most important votes were always 4-3. So we took our medicine. We were in a minority party. We said what we had to say. We said our piece. We represented what we thought the constituency wanted. But we voted down. A lot of times, items were put on the agenda without us knowing. We'd show up to the council meeting, and they would just be there. There were things in the bill list that would just pop up out of nowhere. Yes. So by way of example, we had taken a vote to not have fireworks that year, right? So what happened for health reasons?
I wouldn't even have fireworks.
I was actually the only one who voted to have the fireworks. Okay, so I was 5-1 against, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It was for health reasons. That was the reason why. So we had to vote, and then we show up at the council meeting, and not only because I started looking through the bill list, I see $5,000 for fireworks. So I'm like, what's this about? We voted not to have fireworks. So, and that's just an example. I don't want to dredge that up anymore. But the point is, it just cuts a step out when you have a member of the majority party to make the agenda. Okay, it's just it eliminates the stuff that we had to go through on reorg day, a lot of back and forth, and ultimately, that was the primary reason for it.
Well,
I'd like to answer that.
But what you did, you just reversed the process. And if
Sure.
that was okay, what you're feeling like you reversed the process and it was strictly based on your political affiliation and not what is the best for the town, and didn't have the confidence that the other elected officials would do and vote what's best for the town, and not just because it was going to Democrat or Republican. By saying that, I reversed it because we had a majority vote, and so they would just automatically vote it down. So what you did by doing that was, you did the reverse. So no matter what Councilwoman Cesari or Councilman David have to say, it'll always be your vote.
Well, you're making an assumption that it's not best.
No, that is not, we are
No,
supposed
you're
to
making
be
an assumption that...
bipartisan here. We are all supposed to work together as a council. You keep talking about county and state. This is a local town here. And when you do things like that, we're not working together.
Right, Councilman.
And if you really want us to work together, change the bylaws back to the way that they were. What are you afraid of? Let everyone have a conversation, a seat at the table.
Not one other mayor and council president ever did what you have done. And the reason I think people are directing things to you because you habitually take ownership of it. And I strongly believe that the other Republican councilmen would not have gone that way, and maybe are having second thoughts, I don't know. I only have a hint of that by the reversal of the one stipend. So all I'm saying is, by your own words, and that's why I let you speak, you did it to get control and to circumvent any power that was to the mayor. So then are you saying, should Mayor Karlovic be, if she doesn't run, which I hope she does, if she doesn't run and a Republican gets in, they're going to reverse the bylaws again?
I have no idea what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you that this, the way they are now, is the most efficient way to
No,
run.
it isn't. It's what you wanted. No, it's what you wanted.
It's what the majority of council, excuse me, it's what...
They were bulldozed into it. All four of you were in your office, which, by the way, you should paint your ceiling. They were in your office, and they shouldn't have all been there when we were on Zoom. You were in quorum then. They should have been in separate facilities.
Correct.
But that's the end of that. And as far as the planning board, I just want to say that I was at the meeting as a citizen, and all of the documents were presented, and the planning board, like council, is on, you could view it online. So you'll see all the, you don't have to buy anything, because they held them up, and they were really good about holding it up, so Marco got all the exhibits. You could see everything, you could hear everybody's testimony, and the traffic was not just their traffic study. Kenworth hired their own to, I guess, double check what they were saying and said that it would be better. So I am not the person to do that, but I understood what they were saying, and I have to have faith in, their credentials were like, Webster's Dictionary with all the acronyms after it. And I also want to say that when I was on council, Mayor Fiamingo and I personally spoke about that area, Columbia Leather on Market Street, and FlexiVan for redevelopment back then when we were working on, and you were on my committee, and so was Sal, to revamp the master plan. We actually drove up and down the streets counting how many two families in a one-family zone, should things be rezoned to reflect what is already existing. So this isn't a surprise. It has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. It was something that came up then, because that's when I learned what COA was, and I went to Harbor Consultant's office and asked to be educated on what it meant, what has to happen, what our obligations are, what the state can and cannot do. So it's just a matter of educating ourselves. It has nothing to do with which political party is sitting in office. It's going to happen, and it's a matter of whether or not we take control of it. That's all.
I mean,
So it definitely has nothing to do with who's sitting there. And whoever sits there next will inherit the next one. So to say that it was never talked about, I was there, and it was.
no, it was obviously talked about. The question is,
Talked about exact designs, what else could come after that. We were in the car, we were in the house talking about it, Fred, don't even shake your head. All done, glass of wine, piece of cheese. It happened.
listen, I'm never going to satisfy the local Democratic supporters here, supporters of the Democratic Party. But let me just say this, I understand,
Meetings are on
listen,
public record, you'll hear it.
I understand, but ultimately,
Can we move
Never
on
mind.
here
No.
with this tonight?
I
mean, this is
tried
dragging
to.
on and on. Same bill,
One
same
more statement, Mark, and I'm back.
We'll let people speak as long as they want.
I'm okay with it too.
Over and over on the same stuff?
Well, a lot of people they're passionate about it, they have things to say about it. I'm fine with listening.
I understand what Mrs. Jordan is saying, but I can tell you by knowing the 4 Republican council people up here that Fred doesn't dictate to these 3 guys. It's way too strong for Fred to dictate to them how they're voting. Each one of these council people, even the mayor and Kane and Mark, they have their own opinion. They're people. They make their own opinions, make their own votes. No one person up here could dictate to 6 others what happens. So these men and ladies up here are making their own decisions. Fred is not dictating. He's not a dictator. These people make their own votes.
Hope not.
And they vote the way they want.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Okay, does anyone else from the public?
Let's get this.
Thank you. Mayor, I have like 2 items I could just enlighten a little bit that were raised, if you're so inclined.
Go ahead, sure.
Okay, the first is I did talk to the planning board chairman with regard to the environmental question. And I think it's probably important to give people at least a comfort level that there's not an environmental fiasco going on. There is a DEP order that was brought out at the planning board level, and the applicant agreed and stipulated that they're going to comply with that order. So what was going to take place during the development was complying with what the DEP already said was what had to be done, and the DEP is the only entity that has jurisdiction over something like that. So that is typically what happens in applications like that. I know that from my private practice, and I wouldn't think there's an issue of concern on that.
Okay, thank you.
Limited environmental issue. So far as the question on the agenda setting, I did review the law on it, and what the former councilwoman advised. Both are technically correct. It's what the council decides in that given year as to what the bylaws are going to be, on the process on setting the agenda is what controls, because it is a power of the council. And at one point in time, according to the bylaws, they deferred that power, I guess primarily to the mayor. And in this particular year, they referred that power primarily or exclusively to the council president. But it was a proper exercise of power. I researched it. It's in accordance with the law, and that's where it's at.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to say from the public?
Joseph Rizzo again. Just tried to answer Mrs. Everman's question about the traffic, because I was there. The way it was surmised to me, it's the way I understood it, Mr. Chairman, probably verify it. It's not that the traffic is going to improve, because that's not correct. They said that it's going to get worse. It's operating at a very low standard, and it's going to get worse. If it's developed in the current zoning status that it is, then it will be worse. Compared to the current status of what it is now, with the development going in there, it will be operating at a less value than what it is now. But if it's fully developed from the current zoning that it has now, then it will be worse. And that was something that the board hung their hat on.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close the floor for public discussion.
Motion.
I'd like to, I would just like to say a few words to our borough administrator and clerk. I just want to say thank you. From the first time I came in here, everything that you've taught me and everything that you've done for the borough and your heart and for our community, for all the support for myself and every elected official that has walked through this door, that you have made this process easy and you have been a source of knowledge and support, and I will miss you terribly and I wish you the absolute best. Thank you.
I echo your sentiments. Laura, it's almost like we started at the same time, and we was here when you were hired. We've been through a lot of stuff together. So, I feel like I'm losing a friend. So I wish you luck in the future, and if there's anything that obviously I or anyone else can do, for you, just pick up the phone. And wherever you're going, they're going to be much better off than they are without you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Like just to say, I became the chief right before Laura came here, so I did work with Hetty. Laura and I think I had like, how many years were we here, Laura?
8.
8. So yeah, right about this, almost at the, almost at the same time. I guess I had a year ahead of you, but we did, work together on many levels, and we definitely did good things for the town. Looking back, you were always that person from the 50s, cars and decorating and parties, and you made it a brighter place for everybody. I know I couldn't get all the police officers to get involved, but I always did. It's been an honor and a pleasure serving with you, and I wish you the best at everything in life, in your future job and your career. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, please don't ever hesitate, because I respect you, and I think that you've done an awesome job, and you're going to be missed.
Thank you, Joe.
Same here. I guess you can call me short timer. The time that I've been here on council, the rookie. I've only known you for almost 2 years, and you've just been nothing but the help, and you're going to be sorely missed.
Thank you, Joe.
You're not replaceable, Laura, at all. I can tell you that right now.
Thank you, Kay.
Best of luck.
It's a good word.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. You're always professional. And numerous times I've worked with you over the years. And I'm sorry I didn't bring the dogs in.
You should be.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And you'll do well.
Thank you so much.
Laura, I'll see you in Red Bank.
Many, many worries.
I'll be down in that area a lot, so I'll be seeing you.
You're not getting rid of any of us.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, if there's, are we going to go into executive session? Is that